So, I guess we are live. Obviously, in a few seconds, minutes, for this to take into place. Thanks for joining. I hope you hear me and everything looks good from what I see. And if I have not muted myself, that's good. So, thanks for joining. Yes, today I would like to talk about transport governance, what you're supposed to be doing, what's good, what's best practices, etc. So if you're joining me here, so put a comment. So I started out doing integration a long time ago. I guess it's XI 3.0 in 2005, and on the first project I got this assignment. We need to integrate with these things, and after you have done the integration you need to document, and the documentation was to fill in a whole lot of documents with things that I'm sure never would be updated again. And since then I have worked a lot with different projects, companies on their different processes about what they think of making transport governance, etc. And it's always been quite a mixture between good and bad processes. So a lot of times I've seen people that really did not have any things and just say, okay, we just use file transport. Like, that really made a lot of changes, and something I really did not understand. I don't know how you are transporting. I hope you're using like CTS Plus, at least for your PI transports. But even though you are using that, then you still need to do some manual work in this process. This is about creating documentation of what is going on, what is it for actions that you need to do, and you also need to have someone that actually can approve these changes. So let me just know, do you have an approval process when you are approving your transport? I'd like to have your idea, and also hear if everything here works successfully and you can actually hear me. So yes, my name is Daniel, and so a lot of times when I've been out, it's been trying to figure out what are the processes, and everybody had their own ways. And I think a lot of times it's something that's been pushed down from a central ERP governance team, that this is how we do our integration and our documentation. Just fill in something that makes sense. And even for the best places where I've been, it has always been really challenging to go back and forth between these two things and see, okay, this is actually what they are. So after we've done the import, it's difficult for me to actually go and see what is going on. And I would show you some of the newest innovations we've done in the FIGAF tool to make this a lot easier. And I hope this could be relevant for you to get some perspective about if you're actually transporting correctly. And the same thing if you're transporting cloud integration, you would also in a lot of cases use cloud transport management. It's a good tool that allows you to coordinate transports, etc. But one of the things I really find lacking of it is the ability to actually, as an architect developer, understand what is going on. What is it that someone asked me to transport? And I think this is also a lot about who owns these code. What is it that makes sense? Where does this reside? So any questions or ideas? Sure. Do you spend a lot of time on your approvals, or is that just something that everybody else in the organization is doing, and you just need to provide the documentation? Both as the approver, I see that there's a lot of work to do, that you need to figure out who has made these changes, but also as the developer, you need to create all this documentation, make sure it's current, relevant, and upload it to the use case. Cool. So yes, questions along the way, put it into the chat, then I'll try to answer it as we go along. So let me show 3. So here we have, this is the FIGAF tool, and I'll show you 2 examples of what I mean about what a good transport is. So first off, here we have a transport for CPI iFlow. It is transported from our development system to our virtual QA tenant that is just a part of our PI system. And now as a developer, I have some different options to actually go in here. So I can go in and I can configure the external properties. So we'll just do this one, update this, demo live. We can also configure password, and we get a warning that the password does not exist in the target system. Some of these services like these are being globally replaced, so we don't need to remember these properties as we get along in our landscape. So we can just say, okay, the host name ERP development is always this, ERP QA is this. And I think this simplifies a lot of work, and obviously I should probably have removed myself on that screen, I can see. But yeah, so here you have the overview. As a developer, I can go in and I can look at the difference that I'm trying to apply here, and I think this is an important thing to actually understand what is it for a change that I am proposing. And here we can see the changes in this specific field that has been changed. We also have a HTML version or a graphical version that would show you what are just the differences between these two things, and I think this really simplifies the process. One of the things we also added is this parameter report, and this is a CSV file that shows you all the different parameters that you have. So here we have it. And we can see here what are the iFlows. So if you have multiple iFlows in it, you would see them all here. And then you can see what are the old value we had, what are the new value. So we can see we actually made a change to this API key in this transport. As an architect or as an approver, this is really useful for me because I can easily scan through the changes to see are there actually some things that is pointing to a wrong service in this system, and thereby go in and say, okay, we want to make modifications to this. I can, as a developer, I can send it to approval, and obviously in most scenarios you should not be able to approve your own development. That's best practice. You want this 2I principle that developers should not approve your own code. This is default supported, but to make demos etc. easier, we have added this as a workaround because otherwise I needed to log in as a different user. Not that it really matters. I would get an email now with that I need to approve this one. And as an approver, I still have the same ability. I can see what the developer have requested, what is going on, and I have these comparison options to actually see the iFlow comparison, what is it that we are making of changes here, and then I can just approve it, and you can define who can approve it. This way it gives your users a lot more to work with when they are going around and approving transport, because they have all the versions that you have. Yes, so this div also work with Groovy. There you would use the div.html that would then go in and show what is the difference between these two formats. I just showed that briefly, that we had that option. So it would show all the code differences that's going on, making it a lot easier to understand it. But yeah, now we cannot go through it. So we get the warning that the password works. We had this div.html here. Here you can see what is the difference that we're trying to apply. If there was XSLT, Groovy, XSDs, they would all be shown here, making the process really easy. We got the warning, we need to create it, and we can then check again once you have created all the correct passwords. If we have the rollback if something fails. So one of the other things is obviously if I at a later point go into my system and I see someone has made a change to an iFlow, then it would be really nice for me to actually know what this change was. And what I can see here is I can see that we have payloads here and I have tickets. This means I can easily go in and open the ticket here, and I can find what are the changes that here hopefully you have added some description about why you wanted to make this different. So this gives you a lot more detailed later on in the system to show you what is going on with your integrations. Good. And then the other one is the PI transport, and I think the CPI transport can be, well, a lot more simplified because it is a simple configuration that you could deploy. You don't have all of this extra complexity around it. If we look at the transport we have here for PI, so here I have a PI scenario that I created just before, and when we're doing this, we also have the option here to compare objects. We can see if something is changed, what is it for a change that have happened. So we can see we have made here proposed a change of this specific parameter. We obviously have the parameter in place here also, where we can go in and check a look at all the different artifacts. We can easily find non-transportable items. Let's add it to change number 6. This just gives you and then so as a developer you would make these modifications, you would go through this, you would search these criteria, and again here we have this overview report that gives you what are the biggest places that you need to make modifications for this. And here you can easily see that the different artifacts, obviously you just need to enhance it. We have a receiver here that's mapped to this receiver. We can see that if it is a new one, then we say that the old value was not found. We can see the different values that we have here. So really making it easier for us to find this. If we had set up filters in the Excel data filter, we can search for non-transportable, go in and see what has been changed here, and maybe do the other thing and look about what has not been changed if it is not transportable. In the recent release we also added a new feature here that makes it easier to give you an overview of the changes that happen. So if you are looking at what changes have happened in an ICO, it is really difficult to have any kind of prediction about what is going on. If you deploy this transport with this iFlow, what is it that we are making of changes? Here we will go in and say we have changed this delete, changed the receiver in the configuration, and what are the channels, what are the outbound processing. So you get a lot of information about what is actually going on here. So you have the version diffs here, and we can send it to approval, and then as approver I can do the same thing, approve it or reject it if that matters, and now import it, and then after import I can also roll back, and then we can import multiple items at once, etc. So there's a lot of flexibilities in terms of what we can actually do here. Oh, sorry, I need to disappear here. So here we have the import button that you can select and do the things you would need with. So this is some of the improvements. I hope that this is, you can see the benefits where it will actually make your life easier as a developer architect, because there's no need to create a lot of documentations. Everything we have in our system is documented by the system. We can see this one was not changed, so it's not happening. And if I look at my test system here, I can then see that these items has been lagged. I can see the tickets that caused these to be changed. So I have all of this information that I need to prove that we have proper governance. And I think that is one of the cool aspects of this. I wanted to go back to the beginning and talk to. In all practices, in all places, you need to have good processes in place to make sure that you know what's being transported, what's going on, what's important in your landscape. And I think this is one of the things that can make it easier. If you have any questions, comments, just put them into the chat and I'll try to cover those as we go along. But I think that was a lot of the basic things that I just wanted to cover about this, because I think that we need to do a lot more governance in our integrations, making it easier. And I think, yeah, we do not need to talk about file transports because that is not really the way to go anymore. I think obviously in the beginning of a Neo landscape, it was okay, you did not really know what was going on. When you need to set up a serious transport process, you need to have something like this in place. And it can either be PRs, you can create some or use some Git repository and some Git flows. There are some different ways to do that, but you definitely need to have a good way that you be able to document this is the things that is going on, this is the change that a user has proposed, and go around and show it. Why is it that this makes sense? What is it that is important in these cases? Yes, so that was my topic and rant for the day. I hope this was useful. If you want to know more, you can always go to figaf.com, sign up for a DevOps tool, try it out. It is really easy to get started with. We are improving the tool as we get along, giving you a better feel of understanding of your integration. And well, I guess we need to talk about, so the real reason to do this is obviously, you can use file import export, that works, but if you need to scale it, you need to have processes in place. And whenever you add that complexity, you want to have it adds a higher price, because you need to spend time on it. Both different team members need to be engaged in this, and this just makes some things a little more crazy. So having a tool in place that simplifies these things just lowers the cost of making integration, allowing you to make integrations faster. And I think that is one of the key aspects, because I do see a lot of customers that are looking for new integration developers, and I think it's difficult to find some really great ones. And if you have the great ones, you want to make sure that they are working on things that really matters. I would say governance does matter, but obviously you can automate it, as you have just seen. So any questions? But otherwise, I would say thanks for joining. Otherwise, you can always find me or leave a comment afterwards. We'll try to cover this. So thanks for joining. It's been great having you. And have a fantastic weekend when you get that far.